Hello and thank you for joining us for week 4 of the Academy Split. I am Julian Pastry joined by an artisan of arepas. It's Alberto Crumbs Rengifo. How you doing, man?
Hey, now I'm hungry that you brought up arepas. If you don't know what it is a Venezuelan cornmeal dish. It is a staple of South America. Look it up. Eat one if you can.
It's delicious, as expected. Look at the schedule for today, though, as today's week of League kicks off with a little bit of Dignitas Academy versus 100 Thieves Academy, then a dash of Golden Guardians challenging TSM Academy with a smattering of Academy action before we close things out with Evil Geniuses versus FlyQuest. So, good matchups today, Crumbs. We're getting into the thick of things now for Academy.
Oh yeah, the teams at the top are really starting to rise, like TSM, Cloud9 that had that rough start and is surging, but then a lot of other teams aren't exactly the teams that started this split.
Well, let's check in who's been speedrunning Academy so far with the Samsung SSD Fast 5. First of all, let's pull up the 5 stats that we've been tracking for each role. In the top lane, Deus has gone from 9th place to breaking the top 3. Tuesday and Insanity land in the top spots after strong performances in week 3 as well. And in support, Big has had a major jump from the 10th spot all the way up to number 2.
And the transformation item, I think, is actually much faster here in Academy than it is in LCS, so maybe a lot more action in the bottom lane.
Well, as we look at the leaderboard, so I do want to take a close look at the jungle position, specifically having a look at Ander and his Volibear from last weekend. He was looking good. Again, this is a player that when he's on form, I feel like completely dominates this league.
He was the first jungle Volibear that we saw that week, I believe, since the previous week in LCS. Everybody was playing him in the top lane, same here in Academy, and this is what happens when you not only get to counter jungle your opponent, but also pick up first bloods and kills non-stop in the top lane. You see a ton of potential with the jungle champion in the ability to just tower dive, and he is just really fun to see. Here he is playing volley again.
Yep, and like you mentioned, this is something that, you know, the LCS took in their stride. It was likely everyone was playing it that week anyway, but it was cool to see it here and then jump in to the LCS that weekend as well. Having a look at the overall jungle leaderboard, though, that performance and a jump from 5th to 3rd in the jungle standings. Grig and Fnatic are still holding down the top spots, with the other surprising one being Fraggus, moving from 9th into 5th now for that first to level 6.
Big discrepancy between 1st and 10th place. That is actually a ginormous difference of a minute 30. That is something that, oddly enough, TSM is our #1 team, yet their jungler is the slowest to level 6.
I mean, you know what? They don't always need him. And with that, let's dive into our first matchup, where your eyes are not mistaking you at home. You are still watching Academy, I promise. It is not magically transported to Friday yet. But these rosters look very familiar if you've been watching on the weekends. Dignitas are starting a portion of the LCS roster. And by a portion, Crumbs, I mean their entire top side.
Yeah, the LCS parts of Johnson and Afro are staying with the LCS, and we are taking here Froggen, Acadian, and Viper, who Viper had started in Academy earlier, or sorry, well, he was playing Academy before, but now he's playing full-time with this team, and I'm not sure how this team is going to fare. I'm not going to lie to you, Pastry, because they have not had a win in the LCS, and the bottom half was the strongest point for this roster. The top side was never one that really clicked.
Yeah, we were going to talk about, you know, Dig looking better last week in Academy with easier to execute mid-jungle 2v2s, and now we have an entirely new mid-jungle, not just for Dig, but also the other side as well has seen changes. 100 Thieves also changing their roster, but not nearly as drastically. Puman contracts are actually in the LCS this weekend, and potentially for the foreseeable future for the entire season. Stunt has been dropped from the team, Breezy is back in Academy alongside Prismal, and Meteos is down here as well playing jungle.
I mean, Meteos in the jungle versus Froggen. I don't know what year it is, but I'm not complaining. This is pretty cool, and I think it's an opportunity for him to actually show some of that leadership that we know he has in store as a player, and maybe give us a little bit of that 2019 someday vibes that 100 Thieves had, when you have a really accomplished veteran player with players that are a lot newer to the scene, and maybe that knowledge can instill and level these guys up further. So it's an experiment that could actually end up with really positive results for this lineup.
Yeah, definitely curious to see how the Thieves still look, given that Contracts leaving the team is a big change in how they were winning at least some of their games in recent weeks. So without his aggressive style. Medius, I think, certainly prefers to play a lot slower, prefers to get information. He's played a lot of Trundle in the LCS, like he can play the Olaf, but he's not a Nidalee Graves player, like, say, Contracts is. And Breezy being back in the lineup's cool. I think he and Prismal had a great spring. I was actually surprised to not see him in the lineup, but clearly the team valued Poom. And of course, Poom has been so good that he's already playing in the LCS, which is quite impressive for a player that hasn't been in the scene for all that long, although he has been playing League for a little while. But Breezy, I think, a player that, assuming he's had, kept up practicing, had some time with the team, I imagine he'll slot back into this lineup fairly easily. With Medios being in here, maybe that will be a little bit trickier, but at least I think he and Prismal should feel pretty comfortable together as a duo, and that is always something that Thieves can lean on if they want to try and take some games here, especially against a Dignitas that has to have a lot of new coordination issues, let's say.
Prismal looked good on his own, and I think that if you are not having such an easy time slotting in as a new support here, there's a lot of picks that your bottom lane can go for that make it a ton easier for you to rely less on your synergy, whether it's you can go for a complete Enchantress or a very point-and-click kind of support like a Nautilus. So you can also go with the Ezreal in the AD department, or something like an Ashe that is seeing a ton of popularity right now that makes it so that your support is not the only person that can engage. So you can call the shots as well from the AD position. And I think the Ashe is going to see a lot of play today, and they could shore up a lot of the weaknesses that the adaptation or the time that it takes for this team to ramp up will need. And it can also help out Medios in the jungle a lot if he wants to go with something a little bit more aggressive, because despite him not being the carry player in the LCS, I think coming into this lineup, you should feel confident enough to say, yeah, I could probably play a carry jungler here and get away with it.
I think if nothing else, I'm expecting Medios to have quite a lot of agency in these games. Like, he's a very vocal player. He is very smart, but very, I don't want to say set, but like he knows how he wants to be playing the game, and I think in this kind of environment, he can be calling a lot of the shots regardless of the champion, so I certainly expect it to be very active. We'll see what happens in the actual draft department though, as we're almost done with Phase 1 of bans. Volibear, Trundle, Syndra, Varus, and Callista are the first 5, with the last one from 100 Thieves Academy coming right up.
Okay, Nidalee, right, getting that rid from Acadian. So despite Dignitas Academy not having a win, Dignitas, we'll just call them Dignitas. They didn't even find a win in the LCS at the Nidalee. It can still be a pick that can truly put the her on the lineup of 100 Thieves. And if you can at least put your opponent on the Graves, there are ways to play around Graves. Graves is not an absolute win condition. As long as you can kite him out and make sure that you can keep him at a distance, the same way that we would want to play against Nephelios will work against Graves.
Definitely some trading and power picks happening here though. Graves was left open, so Phelios is going to be the selection there for Prismal, a player that basically will never turn away from playing that champion if it's open. Karma also picked here, could be for a solo lane, could be just be here for Breezy, would be a really solid lane they could play together that, again, given that they're back newer together as a team.
Ooh, yes!
And the Bud to join it. So we actually saw Prismal play Ziggs into Aphelios last week, so I'm really curious to see Aster and JJ pilot this aggressive 2v2.
Oh, I love this combo. I think we first saw it in the LCK where they were playing Bard Ziggs into Aphelios, and then 100 Thieves showed it against CLG like you were mentioning. And it's pretty good against Karma as well. Now, she's going to be really fast with that shield, but if you catch her, she is done, just like the Aphelios. So there's a ton of long-range damage that you can throw at the Aphelios and even the Kindred as well. So it's a good composition thus far, but it's odd to see that a lane that doesn't have or hasn't had as great of a synergy as we would have liked to see between Asta and JJ are doubling down on a fairly new and difficult to execute kind of combination. But Ziggs can be a really powerful laner if your opponents haven't really played against it. But like you said, Prismal and Breezy were the ones to first debut it in Academy, so I'm sure they've got some idea of their strengths and weaknesses in lane.
And as a reminder, we actually have changed patches. It is patch 10.13 right now, and that's going to explain why Kog'Maw got banned in Phase 2 by 100 Thieves Academy, which is maybe not something we were going to expect. LeBlanc, the other ban here, so I imagine both of those are actually aimed at mid lane, given the selection we already have in the first 6 picks. And I would not be surprised to see Froggen be the kind of player that wants to play AP Kog'Maw, which has been making the rounds again. Zoe also going to get banned away here, so Saligo trying to protect his lane pretty heavily here.
Yeah, this is not only protecting the lane, but also protecting the comp. Because think about how nasty it would be if you've got Bard, Ziggs, Graves Ultimate, and then an AP Kog'Maw against a comp that already has no engage in Aphelios and Karma Kindred. So I like what 100 Thieves are doing thus far. And the final ban of Nautilus will also make it so that the engage is really just not available for 100 Thieves. So they're committing in the mid 2v2. Meteos and Soligo looking to put the hurt on Acadian and Froggen.
Yeah, Twisted Fate, definitely more of a team-oriented pick. I think it's like, this is the mid laner you pick when you want to help your jungler, not the other way around, right? Not the jungler you pick when you want to help your mid laner. So I do like this. This is a pick we've seen Froggen play. We've seen a lot of different players across the world have success on this champion. There is Viper going back to the Wukong, I believe. Oh no, now I can't remember who played it. It doesn't matter. But Wukong, not a champion we see that often. Finally saw it in LCS thanks to Cloud9. But Academy has seen a couple of plays, it just hasn't been all that successful.
It was Viper that played the Wukong into EG, and that was when it did not look very good. He kind of ran it down from the top lane, but he still picked up another win, I believe, playing it again. So not being deterred by one bad game, it'll still be a really dangerous engage tool here against the very annoying Karma Kindred combination. So combined with the Orianna, you at least have Froggen on the pick that he's very familiar with, and we get to see where his laning stands in one of his best picks against Soligo.
I think my only worry with where this Wukong was picked is that generally, even when Wukong was first floating around, the number one thing I kept hearing was like, you have to counterpick it because it's just not a good blind pick, and giving Fake God the option to pick an aggressive lane matchup in your 1v1 is definitely a risk that is bold to take, let's say. He's going to have Renekton here against the Wukong, which I imagine he's picking for a pretty good matchup here, so curious to see if Fake God can run over this lane, although Wukong, as we've heard also, you don't really pick it for the 1v1, you certainly pick it for team fighting. So as long as Viper can survive these early stages, as you mentioned with Froggen's Orianna, they should have a lot of tools to get things done in the mid game.
I don't know if you caught this, but there is a player in the LPL that's been running Graves jungle with Ignite, and Acadian has also added that to his pool right now. So
Wait,
Ignite Graves.
Ignite
He's got his dashes.
Smite?
You're not really invading against him because he's always going to have the grid stacked up, but it can work, and it can be enough to swing the matchup against Kindred.
That is great. I like that a lot. I mean, Acadian, as a reminder, like he was hasn't been out of Academy for very long. He actually had a pretty solid first half of the spring split with Dig, obviously, on their Academy team, and did look really good for a lot of it alongside Devontae especially, but it felt like in the games that they were winning, which was a lot of their first half of games, he was just like taking over the jungle and snowballing, which I think is what everyone expected when he moved into the LCS once again, to be that kind of player, because that's what the meta said you could play. It's what it was encouraging you to play. This definitely feels like a tripling down almost of that style, taking Ignite into the jungle as well, but I do appreciate that players are taking cues from other regions, particularly LPL, which has always been one of the most aggressive and of course is one of the best, if not the best region in the world currently. So if I feel like you want to take risks sometime, this is definitely a good time to try and experiment here, so I'm curious to see how it works out, but we're going to step away to build up that game delay. When we come back there, we'll have the game right from the start. Welcome back. We're gearing up for our first game of the day. It's week 4 of Academy Crumbs, and at Dig and 100 Thieves with some pretty different rosters, or very different rosters in Dig's case, going to be showing up to battle here for our first one.
I'm very excited for this week because I don't think I've ever seen a split that has had this many shakeups in this many positions from teams, and we have so many veterans playing today. It's been... When have we ever seen Meteos versus Froggen in Academy? This is the first time, and we don't know how long they're going to stick around here.
Yeah, definitely a lot to think about, I think, as far as these teams' futures go on both the Academy and the LCL side. But, you know, we're just here for the ride right now, seeing what the teams can produce here for this matchup. Both teams in Academy have been doing okay. I think 100 Thieves certainly been doing a little bit better. I think a lot of their rise, though, can be attributed to how well Contracts has been playing. But, of course, now he's going to be playing in the LCS, at least for this weekend. So we'll see how Meteos does with the rest of the team. But, again, should be competent enough. Slotting in a veteran, especially. Even a jungler with a pretty different style, I think, is not too tricky to integrate into the team.
Yeah, and the team is giving him a lot of resources. So he's playing Kindred, he's got a Twisted Fate to back him up, he's got a Karma for shields later into the game, and he has winning side lane. So you've got the Renekton that's going to have a really good time early game, and then you've got the Aphelios and Karma who should be able to get some shove onto the Bard and Ziggs. So I think that 100 Thieves has all the tools they need to let Meteos shine, and if he can do that, you can really put behind the Graves that does not have flash. We have an Ignite Graves in the jungle from Acadian. Maybe that's what was missing in his LCS games. Just needed a little bit more firepower.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it works out. Certainly a extremely aggressive choice, but we'll see. Again, Acadian's certainly known for his aggressive jungle style. For me, at least after the draft, I think the cool thing is actually the bottom lane here for the Dignitas side, which is also the players that didn't get changed. Johnson and Afro still in the LCS. Only the top side of Dig LCS got moved here to Academy for at least this game. So we'll see how Aster and JJ can do with, as you mentioned, Crumbs, a very challenging to play and execute bottom lane, but a very powerful one if you can get a foothold here. Ziggs and Bard. Definitely not conventional.
No, but if you can win early, you can then just run away with the game. There's not a lot of mobility on the side of 100 Thieves. Poke will be amazing against Aphelios and Kindred, especially magic damage poke here. And Ziggs is great at taking down turrets. If you can secure some early Rift Heralds, you can run away with a single Herald to take 2 turrets in the blink of an eye, right? It hits the charge, satchel, bam. Hit the next one, another satchel. You've got 2 turrets, so it can be a really quick accelerator of a game.
Yeah, you can definitely see why people want to pick Ziggs with how valuable turret plates have become since their introduction. Surprisingly, we haven't actually seen that much of the champion, but I feel like every time we see it, they're like, oh, they got all those plates pretty easily. That seems quite powerful. Maybe it's just placing in a team comp that can be tricky, but Aster's going to be fairly well protected here by the Guardian Bard. As you noted, though, Acadian does not have flash this game. He will only have his AP mobility, but Ignite Plus Smite means that we should be paying attention to these junglers. They are starting on the opposite sides of the map right now. There's a little bit of vision in like the mid side of the river on either side for these teams, but I imagine Acadian wants to fight Meteos as soon as humanly possible with this Ignite.
Okay, so I found exactly where it was that the Graves with Ignite was played. Now, it was in the LPL, like we said earlier, and it was, this is where it gets a little tricky.
Okay.
Rogue Warriors, who are currently the only winless team in the LPL. So winless teams taking notes from winless teams. Not where I would start looking, but we see the merit that the Graves has. There's other junglers and other metas that have been able to run Ignite, like Hecarim, so I think I could see it. I could definitely see it. He just has to play really well.
You know what? We'll reserve judgment until the first blood, I guess. There's a bit of trading here in mid lane. Soligo up against Froggen. Always a tough opponent, especially in lane. That's, I think, where Froggen has most often shined. But has this very comfy Orianna here versus the TF, so I imagine just a lot of trading of the waves back and forth. Also, phase rush here for Froggen. We have started seeing Spellbook become close to the standard keystone for mid laners, at least mages, in recent times, but Froggen going for a bit more of a selfish choice here. Still very good though, so not a bad keystone at all.
Pretty amazing for getting away from TF or even a Kindred, where you can just use a quick QWE and suddenly you're just zooming away from your opposition or even catching up to them if you're trying to be aggressive as well. So I'm a big fan of Face Rush, but like you're saying, Spellbook has seen so much variety right now because it offers you such a different way of handling the mid game. You can just have that teleport, you can now suddenly have an ignite, you can switch back to a ghost if you need to escape. So the versatility of it, I think, is more valuable, but it really depends on how well your team and you can choose those summons, because if you just choose them around and you're not using them effectively, you might as well have gone through Phase Rush instead.
Level 4 first mark already claimed, by the way. Meteos with a very nice start to his jungle parking, going blue to topside and then finding the right crab always has to feel good. As a Kindred player, that is one of the more frustrating elements about playing that champion, I imagine, is that sometimes you flip the coin and you lose, which feels bad, but Meteos at least going to get that first mark nice and quickly here.
You have a coin flip champion, quite literally, right? It's pretty tough for Acadian to have to deal with that. As Graves, you wanted to take that fight early and you wanted to set behind the Kindred. Once she starts hitting that 4 mark, that's when Graves is going to have a really hard time, because when Kindred starts to outrange you, that's when you need to then be dashing aggressively into her, and if she can get that advantage of a few autos on you, if you haven't already gotten ahead, she's just going to win.
We'd also have some questions. Oh, bottom lane Breezy just flashing in an instant. Ignited down as well, but the damage is a little bit too significant, and Asta gonna get first blood as Breezy gets clipped by the tower.
What a great satchel charge there from Asta. Now, Breezy was a little bit greedy there. There was no heal, and I think it was the Guardian that came in from JJ that actually saved his life there at the end. But now that Zig's got that first blood, this lane is gonna harder for Dig. He can just base and TP back into the lane, and it's going to be really tricky because that is not the target you wanted to start feeding when your competition is going to get outranged.
Yeah, just in the 2v2, looking at the summoners alone, that's, 3 summoners used, all combat summoners for 100 Thieves in the bottom lane as well, and the kill goes to a very well-timed satchel from Asta, and an aggressive misplay there for Breezy. He's going aggressive again. He with Meteos though behind him, going to get near-sided though, and that's a kill for Frog. A nice response there from Dig as Acadian with that ignite able to make sure that kill goes their way.
Ooh, good bait there by JJ, trying to entice Meteos to chase him down, and this is the lead that we wanted to see from Acadian. The ignite coming in clutch, actually taking down Meteos at the end. I thought, like, oh, surely he'll flash forward and finish Meteos, but no, this is a flashless Graves, well-timed with the Dragon as well, and that is the advantage that Froggen also had in the mid lane, being able to quickly collapse onto the play. So the Kindred Karma combination is not very strong early. It is just a lot more powerful later into the game when you can have that Ardent Sensor, when the shield gets really fat, when Kindred's range extends that of Graves. So I think that 100 Thieves is getting a little bit too ambitious there, because if you even think about how that first blood went down, it did not have to stay in that position. There was low mana on Asta. Just continuing to harass would have generated enough pressure and eventually a gold advantage through CS.
Well, at least in the top lane, things are going well for 100 Thieves early on, as we kind of suspected. Fake God with his counter pick of choice, doing very nicely here, actually closing in on 15-20 CS ahead in the 1v1. He has already TP'd back after buying some early Tabo, so that does give Meteos the ability to roam into the top lane here, especially with Froggen out of the lane and Soligo making sure that it stays pushed up. So he is going to get a buff steal here unless Acadian can get that smite back off cooldown, but maybe a fight for it instead. Acadian are going to get slowed. I don't know why he went back in. The TF ults is going to chase him as well. He's got no flash. He dashes out. See you later, Acadian. And that was just very silly.
Oh my goodness. Yep. It's silly indeed. There's just no explaining that. You have to give up the buff. Your mid lane, just base. You have no prio there. You're dealing with a global TF that has no chance of being stopped. Renekton is proxying the wave, and you don't have flash? Just a big mistake.
Yeah. More than an oversight there, but will cost Acadian the advantage he had started to build for himself. Play Asta though, looking very good here in the 2v2. Just getting the wave pushed in. Again, the kind of like Sivir, I feel like the less Ziggs interacts with you, the happier he is. I mean, obviously if you're taking damage and he's not, he's happy, but mostly he's happy when the waves are being pushed into the tower and he's collecting gold from farming. So after that 2v2 mishap for Breezy. Things are looking nice there in that lane. And Meteor's now level 6. Will be about equal to the task as far as timing goes for Acadian. But just continuing to farm happily here after Acadian's misstep around his own blue.
Very interactive gameplay out of the Ziggs, like you're saying, and that's exactly why the champion is so good into the Aphelios. It never gives Aphelios a chance to use his weaponry, and even if you can chuck out an ultimate, a Graviton ult, try to lock him down, he can always either satchel you away or get himself to safety. So this is a bottom laner that I think really fits the wheelhouse of marksman a lot more than the aggressive Cassiopeia or Syndras that I think are a lot trickier to play. This is what I want to see marksmen start to play when you want to pick up mages in the bottom lane, because if worse comes to worse, just farm it up. You're not expected to be making plays. You're not expected to be the one initiating a fight or hitting these crazy stuns or flash ultimates. You just hit your Qs and your job is done.
On the top side now, Acadian gonna go ahead and take this Rift out. Meteos is not able to be here in time, so that first little objective and that first Drake, of course, does go over to Dig, which is nice. See where they want to be looking to threaten a tower with. As you mentioned, there is lots of synergy between having the Herald and having a Ziggs on your team, so we'll see if Acadian does want to go ahead and line up with Asta, or if it's just a matter of using this one to get the place right now and being happy to cash in on the advantage later. FLICKR also continuing to pressure up. He now has a fade built into this 1v1. It's the full completed boots ahead of Viper as the items look right now. As you can tell, Viper's looking behind, yeah, they're 20-25 CS or so, but Viper knows that his role is going to be more critical in the mid game when the 5v5s and such start happening, so he's not getting solo kill, he's not really getting bothered too much apart from FLICKR having an individual lead, so I think he'll be fine as long as he can still be impactful, you know, once the 20-25 minute mark rolls around.
He's going to be fine, yet this is the time where FLICKR is going to get the most gold out of him. He's going to be able to proc his Demolish, get some more plates in the top lane, and Viper's teleport is at the same time that Fake Gods is, so he doesn't have an opportunity to try to outplay in the bottom lane and try to collect some more gold there. Now for the Rift Herald, really would like to see it be popped in the bottom lane. Using it now, it's just a gold play. It's unlikely that you're actually going to be able to take down this turret with the strengthening of the plates, and Karma is already collapsing here. Oh, well look at this, we've got an intruder in the mid lane.
Yep, and there it is, first tower, and the most important one, the mid tower goes over to Asta. As he does room into the satchel. Like you said, Crumbs, it does not take a lot with how much damage the Herald does, and that tower just melts in front of 100 Thieves.
Okay, that's really good, because now you actually have a ton of control. You're going to set back the Twisted Fate, and look at the top laners. Viper is roaming down, so Dignitas is trying to really fight for this dragon. They should get it for free. It doesn't look like 100 Thieves will contest. They will instead just be happy to give Fake God a little bit more gold. Don't fear that Renekton will get outscaled. This champion can be really powerful against these squishy targets. A single Predator empowered W will really just pretty much one-shot one of these carries if they don't have a Karma shield.
Alright, well, good early lead here for Dig. I swear I looked down at one point, it was 1,000 gold up, and now it's only a few hundred, so at least the control of the objectives is here for Dignitas, I guess we can point to. 2 Drakes, that early tower already, despite, you know, where 100 Thieves are getting their advantages. Dig should be pretty happy with how everything is playing out. I think how they play it around this next Drake is going to be important, because, as always, giving away the first 2 Drakes is starting to become somewhat standard in a lot of games. I feel like teams, with how early the first one's often taken, it can be tricky to contest for the second one, so you find yourselves down 0-2 in Dragons a lot. But everyone agrees that giving someone 3 is a bad time, and obviously giving someone 4 is no good. So, certainly expecting a fight, but it's going to be nice and early.
Giving those first 2 Drakes, I think, makes sense if your composition is going to be one that can team fight later and will just have a much stronger power spike. But it looks like we could get a fight here against Meteos.
Very low. And dive in. There's the first spin. Second one lining up here for Viper, has the Orianna ball as well, does get the knock-up, but a good lamp just right there from Meteos will protect him. I think he's just going to have to get out of there though. Asta ready with the ulti if he can spot someone. Ooh, what a nice ult there. Temper Fate onto Soligo, that's going to be the damage down, and see you later as Acadian rips out the ulti to take down TF.
Ooh, we're starting to see the power of this Bard combination. Bard with Orianna, Ziggs, even the Graves too. So this is a really quick team to collapse and assist at a fight from a distance. It's something that 100 Thieves is not expecting here. And I wanted to go back to the point about giving those first dragons up. If your composition can team fight later, sure, you're going to be fine. But Dignitas comp is the stronger team fighting here. 100 Thieves is not going to just be able to walk into a team fight and easily start it or easily win it. They don't have anybody that can get into the front line and just CC multiple members. They need to pick off targets, so they needed to do more of what that first pick against Acadian into the jungle. Now that the first mid turret has gone down, the entire dynamic of the laning phase has changed, so picking off Acadian feels out of the question since he's going to spend most of his time now grouped with JJ, and he can just easily bail him out of any Twisted Fate ports. TF hates Bard.
Yes. You can see the squad sticking together, taking that red buff away. Acadian now actually with a pretty significant lead in farm, has the early lethality and the warrior built up as well, so just going to be the 2v2 here in top lane instead. 2 minutes till that dragon is up, but looks like the next herald is perhaps on the minds of these teams. Asta and JJ though forcing Greasy and Prismal away from here pretty nicely. FLICKR though does at least finish up the tower, so he's able to make sure that some of that gold stays close.
Trying to maybe dive the Wukong, but he's such a tough target. It's possible that Viper could legitimately just jump on Meteos during the dive and kill the Kindred before they can take him out. So he could trade a 1-for-1 at the very least. So he's still in the area, and it looks like Soligo might be thinking about it, but they are having a hard time finding an opportunity to dive. And with this ward, it looks like Froggen might just sniff out Meteos out of the jungle, and no play occurs for 100 Thieves.
Yeah, Froggen also going to take out that control ward, so Meteos knows that he's potentially threatened by the Ori. Level 2 ulti there for Froggen with the Ludens built up, so certainly is a threat that Meteos does not want to face check on his own. Team is setting up for this Drake there as we expected, so it will be 100 Thieves first to the area.
Ooh, they're first to the area, but they are lagging behind when it comes to the itemization. There is some major power in the spellcasters from Dignitas, but Viper is getting caught out. Can he dodge out of this?
Does get stunned. Is the real one going to get attacked as well? Spins one more time. Meteos getting low, but he does not fall. Soligo able to take him out as Meteos collects the bounty as well. Very nicely played by the Thieves.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good pick to get right now. 30 seconds before the dragon. Now Meteos has to base ASAP to make it back into this objective. What Dignitas needs to do now is lock down the dragon area and make sure that 100 Thieves cannot enter again. So while that pick was good to get a kill on the board, it might have cost that third dragon and put Dignitas at soul point, because if you're trying to go into this composition, you're going to get poked out. You cannot walk through the minefield. There's really nobody that can survive prolonged exposure to the double loot and sorcerer issue. So I think that Dignitas will be happy to secure this dragon despite losing another turret and a pick. But a fight is coming down.
For it. Yeah, Meteos has already hit a threat. He's got the ulti as well to potentially delay the Drake take. So with the TFTP and FLICKR also coming down, gonna have to wait for Viper to come back in, but he doesn't have ulti even when he rejoins.
I think he should have TP'd in there, and 100 Thieves could have committed.
Prismal getting chunked a little bit as well. Was forced to flash and heal away, so Froggen using his ulti there to make 100 Thieves AD significantly more susceptible in this next team fight. It's going to be a full-on 5v5 here, Crumbs.
This poke needs to hit from Dignitas. If the poke does not hit, 100 Thieves will be in a good position to fight.
As you say it, of course, the bouncing bomb trails in from Asta, and Prismal's just getting a little too low to entertain this fight. He does have Severum, so there is like, you know, a little bit of a Felios action lifesteal to be had, but DIGA just slowly playing themselves around this Drake. I mean, 100 Thieves don't want to give it up, but they don't know how many good choices they have to not. Prismal trying to lifesteal what he can off the Gromp, but doesn't get that much health back, to be perfectly honest. And here comes Viper now, ulti almost back off cooldown. Going to be flanking very massively here, and there he goes in, gets a double spin. Meteos gets the ulti up just in time, but he's going to have to get himself out to safety. Nearsighted ignited. Over the wall he goes, and he's dead to Acadian with the ulti. That's 2 now for Dignitas as Orianna takes down Renekton, and oh my goodness, Carnage Prismal dead, the Dragon dead. Make it 4+1 as the Drake's taken as well. Dignitas win that team fight resoundingly.
They played it calm, cool, and collected. Despite using Orianna's ultimate to burn out Prismal's flash, he was out of position. There was no way for the team to really group up with him and not concede the position they had already gotten at the Dragon. So they just waited things out, juggled the Dragon aggro well, made sure that it never got low enough for 100 Thieves to commit to it, and now it feels like 100 Thieves has run out of gas because this composition is only going to get tougher to execute against this. So when the Dragon resets, 100 Thieves already took too long to win this, and then a really quick engage from Viper. They waited long enough for Viper to not only walk in, but have his ultimate back up, and this was a fight without the Orianna ultimate, so it would have been even more lopsided.
Yeah, I mean, of course 100 Thieves can't know all the information that we have, being able to see the whole screen, but Dignitas stalled that out perfectly to set up that Wukong to win that team fight. So they'll take it, and all the prizes that go with it. Now on Soul Point with this Infernal Drake, you know, 2,500 gold up or so. Finished first item now for Viper after having a rough 1v1, and that still is true when you look at the difference in farm between the two. But where the teams are at right now, Dig obviously feeling very good, especially given that we're looking to scale a little bit more into this mid game. So we'll see what Resistance 100 Thieves have to offer, but have to think that with the Zig Satchel available and getting stronger, that his tower's not going to be all that healthy. It does just feel like right now Fake God is the one that is giving 100 Thieves any sense of initiative, although Froggen is also starting to push the side lanes for Dig, hoover up that farm, so map's getting far too open for 100 Thieves.
Yeah, they need to use Twisted Fate to pick off individual members in the jungle. Now, a lot of it relies on Meteos having to be inside the enemy's jungle as well, but because the map is so open right now, it is a fire map as well, so there's just a lot more visibility for your opponent to see what's going on. Dignitas can react so quickly, and Meteos is torn between, should I be farming to try to stay in this game? I'm falling more and more behind to the graves, but if I go in, we're not necessarily guaranteed the fight that we need.
Yeah, again, just continued probing here for Dig. TF ulti, he's going to actually go for this here. Gets the stun onto Acadian, but no real chase here. Fake God though pops the ulti, but Bard Portal's going to get him out safely, and 100 Thieves blowing 2 ultis there to try and get a pick, and they get nothing.
Yeah, this feels like one of those games where you wanted to play better in the earlier stages, not at this point. And the big move was that Rift Herald, in my opinion. The roam from JJ and Asta into the mid lane, combined with Acadian dropping that down, just put TF in such a tough spot to find opportunities. If he has to be shoved into his tier 2 early on, that global range, or semi-global, is really not going to be easy to pull off, especially with your other laners being far behind. And now Soligo's also getting bullied out into the top lane. 100 Thieves is definitely on the back foot, and we are just sitting here counting to see like how much more of this can they take.
Yeah, Froggen starting to flex on him. Nice little assist there from Asta, finishing off the tower that Froggen was split pushing. Again, I mean, I think you have to go for some of these plays. Like Soligo's teleport looks a bit desperate, you know, trying to chase them out of the jungle and get a pick, but this is what you have to do with Twisted Fate, right? Why'd you pick the champion if you weren't willing to ult on cooldown and try and get picks? It's just as you're saying, Crumbs, when the map is so much more enclosed for you, it's the opposite of what Twisted Fate wants. I mean, if the tower situation was reversed, this would be a great game for Twisted Fate, right? You'd be porting everywhere, people would constantly be getting picked off in side lanes potentially, but it's not to be right now. It's him getting picked off, or at least his towers.
I can't also stress enough how good the Dignitas draft was here in understanding what 100 Thieves' weaknesses were going to be, because it was Graves into Aphelios Karma. Immediately you know, okay, there is just no engage. There's not going to be any engage here. And if the engage comes, it would be from the top lane, and there would not be a good use of Fake God's mid lane pick or top lane pick. So the TF was the icing on the cake and confirming there's no engage. Just pick really good disengage and ways to deal with the low mobility of 100 Thieves, and once you get past that phase, you're in this position where they have no way to start a fight unless Dig presents it by getting caught out of position.
Yeah, and of course, in a 5v5, Dig's ults are way better, right? They've got Kindred ult, is probably the best one there. Viper's just going to go straight in on, gets the 2 knock-up eventually. Press the button again. Meteos, ooh, trying to get him out of the ulti. That's done there onto Froggen as he does get a nice damage. Shocker, but FLICKR charging in, gets exhausted instantly from JJ. And like you said, as soon as Dig want to opt out of the fight's over.
And they got so many major cooldowns. It doesn't really matter that Dig had to burn 4 ultimates for that. They still control the river, they still have poke, and Meteos has the base. No jungler means that you are now giving Infernal Soul to a comp that wants to poke you out. Oh, Asta is going to be so powerful now.
Yeah, they have, you know, 5 damage deals, honestly. Like, Bud's pretty hefty when it comes to the Meep-empowered autos, so Infernal, a lot of value here across the board.
Or it is definitely hefty. He is quite obnoxious as a support when he gets that tanky build.
I've seen some Bud builds. There's definitely some specialty.
Which ones are you talking about? The Deadman's, I think, has become, it's gone from specialty to everyone loves it now.
I think any build featuring rapid fire cannon I would categorize as specialty.
Okay, that's what I was hoping for.
Alright, well, Dig just steamrolling ahead at this point. I mean, the gold lead isn't that significant. Like, 4,000 at 24 minutes is nice, but it's not, you know, a big chasm. I think the big problem is this early soul, all these towers, and just the full-on objective control that Dignitas have had. And like you said, it just doesn't feel like there's a way for 100 Thieves to easily start fights. Might have to start looking for picks instead, but with the way Dig have drafted and played with the draft they've given themselves, they just look so solid here. Saligo's going to try something here with FLICKR, which I think is a good angle to try and attack, but Viper has had to play weak side all game long, and he's been just fine, honestly. Here he comes. Saligo going to get knocked up, though, and another knock-up's going to come in soon. The exhaust is down. They're going to delay a little bit longer. Viper is eventually going to fall, but quite a lot committed to get that. If they get the tower as well, that'll be nice, but the ulti's out here. Meteos though lives, and oh goodness, 100 Thieves may have turned it around. JJ there with a great stun through the wall, as Prismal wanted to chase for another kill, but they could not grab it. In fact, they get nothing.
In the top lane, Dignitas is actually split pushing to get an inhibitor. They are not having an easy time in trying to engage against that Bard Aphelios, but 100 Thieves was able to also trade a turret on their own, but Dig is going to really love this one. They're now really set up for prepping that Baron, which should be fairly easy, as now Prismal does not have flash, and we saw in one of the earlier Dragon fights how easy it was for Dig to take these fights when Aphelios could not flash out of the Orianna ultimate or even avoid potentially a Bard Tempered Fate.
Yeah, I was wondering why 100 Thieves picked a 3v5, or 3v4 I guess, sorry. Turns out it wasn't, that's why they did it, but Dig able to split push, able to disengage from the initiation 100 Thieves were going for, and kind of collect everything off that play. It is nice that 100 Thieves were able to open up a tower, I think especially with this Lichmane finish on TF. They needed that. Oh, Saligo, then never mind. Lichmane's not going to save him there. Acadian through the portal and then pops the ulti for the kill.
Okay, so they could just go to set up Baron here, and now 100 Thieves will have to check in here. There's a TF on Saligo, but still 30 seconds on him. Meteos doesn't have flash. I think this is definitely Diggs. There is not a play that 100 Thieves can go for, and it looks like Viper is TPing to the top side to offer reinforcements.
Yep, just covering in case 100 Thieves did want to fight around this Baron pit. Also didn't really want to fight FLICKR, although it does leave the bottom inhibitor a little open, but this Baron up recalls, despite the smite being about 25 HP off. No contest here for 100 Thieves, so it's not going to matter. They'll make the recalls, they'll protect their base, and look to end this game 5,000 gold ahead, in position with this Baron to at least get this game to what I like to call like one step away, right? But more than likely they can also end the game, given how far ahead they currently are.
Got the inhib top as well, so they are definitely real close to just going for one single push. A few autos in the turret, a satchel charge, and then the next inhibitor falls. They engage from 100 Thieves. It will need to be a flank if they want to catch something, so If there's any hope, it's setting up some deep vision so that Fake God can TP. Maybe Soligo throws in a Porter a TP on his own, and you've got triple stopwatches. So few members are really all in here and understanding we need to give a Hail Mary at this point because nothing else is going to work. Look at Fake God looking around, but JJ lingering on the side, just always presenting the exit for his squad. Makes it really hard for 100 Thieves to actually get anything going. So Liga needs to be a lot closer there. Oh, maybe a Cadence to target. Gets a stun.
Yeah, again, no flash, but it doesn't seem to matter. Oh, Soligo, that is so bold. Messiah's in, but I think he's just going to fall down. The kill is a great ult from Meteos. They take it all back. Shockwave is nice, so his Froggen's going to keep Fake God occupied. And Fake God going to be low. Viper going to spin in there onto Prismal. Can't really do anything as the Zigzag's going to finish him off. And there's two low health people on the Thieves crawling back into the den. And that's going to be Dig busting through mid lane. Probably busting through these Nexus towers as well. Game looking over here, Crumbs. There's Digger going to pop the thumbs up.
That is the favorite emote of mine, the thumbs up, letting them know good game. It's kind of like the GG easy, but I think a little bit more polite.
Oh, more respectful.
Yes. And a great draft out of the Dig squad, and now the top side actually gets a win in their books despite it coming from Academy, but the confidence that you can get from that, and you also beat Meteos, so that kind of counts. I think it will go a long ways in this year for them.
I think also nice to just see a redeeming Wukong game for Viper, right? We've seen Wukong kind of go wrong in most of the situations we've seen it, and but we've been told that like it has to be a counter pick, and you do have to play weak side regardless of the situation. Viper kind of knew this, like opts into getting counter picked by Fake God, who is one of the more aggressive top laners, loves to take 1v1 fights and get individual leads. But he was like, no junglers coming here, I'm not losing my tower, I'm able to get the items I need to fight with, and he just picked his spots really well. Like, I think it's certainly a team effort from Dig to get to that point, but it's nice to see an NA Wukong game where we all the things that are bad about Wukong get displayed, and then all the things that are good about Wukong get displayed at the end as well.
He based when he was low enough to get dove, so he was willing to give up plates and say, you know what, I know what my job is. My bottom lane is winning, my mid lane is going to farm, jungle got a kill on the opposing jungler. I know I don't have to greed out. I just have to not be the point of exploitation for the opponents, and he did just that.
Well, we are going to hear from the winning team in not too long, so meet us here after this break. Hello and welcome back everyone to the Horizon post-game interview with JJ after a victory there against 100 Thieves. So JJ, how's everything going?
It's going alright, you know, as good as it can be on new, with a new team.
Yeah, kind of talk to me a little bit about, not how things eventuated, but like how long have you even had to practice together as a team, first of all?
So the roster swap happened 2 days ago, so we had 2 full days of scrims practice with new mid jungle.
That's not a lot of practice. How did the practice go? Did it feel like everything slotted in pretty easily, or was there a lot of stuff to work out with so many new teammates?
I think it definitely was a little difficult. Always slotting in new players changes things like dynamics and comms, especially right now where in League communication and teamwork is super important. Yeah, roster changes always change a lot.
Makes sense, but that didn't stop you from actually pulling out a really cool bottom lane, something that we are seeing a little bit, but certainly not that much in NA. Talk to me a little bit about Ziggs and Bard. Like, this is something that seems really cool, but again, not a whole lot of teams are playing. Was it specifically for Aphelios here, or do you think the combination's actually just good?
It was something that we prepared into what we thought would likely be their bot lane. But I think overall it has a lot of potential into other picks as well. Ziggs is really strong at just perma-pushing, taking towers, and Bard is really good at, roaming and helping out his solo laners and jungler. And so the combination just feels really good to play together, where I'm able to do whatever I want, and Neo's able to just pretty much hold the lane 1v2, or even get pushed 1v2, and yeah, it just works really well.
Yeah, it seemed like it all worked out there. So congratulations on you in today, and thank you so much for chatting to me.
Thanks for having me.
All right, well, thank you for joining us, JJ. On the other side, though, we have Game 2 as Golden Guardians take on TSM Academy.
Verizon knows how to build unlimited right. You start with America's most awarded network, the one with unbeatable reliability 13 times in a row.
This network is one less thing I have to worry about.
Then you give people more plans to mix and match, so you only pay for what you need.
Verizon Unlimited plan is so reasonable, they could stay on for the rest of their lives.
You include the best in entertainment, and you offer it all starting at $35, because everyone deserves the best. This is Unlimited built right, only on Verizon.